Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ironworker Gaming Channel. I am Ironworker814, and thank you for joining me for another Destiny 2 weapon review, where we take a look at pros, cons, stats, damage numbers, as well as how to obtain the gun. As always, these weapon reviews are done for use in the Crucible, and they will always keep lower skill or casual players in mind. The weapon we're going to be looking at today is CERBERUS+1, but you probably already figured that out because the title and thumbnail are a dead giveaway. This is another viewer-requested weapon review, requested by only console players. And I gotta say, this is probably the most fun I've had doing a weapon review, but this is also the most frustrating review I've done simply because the damage numbers and TTK values were a nightmare to figure out. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute here, but holy jeez. Was the Cerberus impressive in the Crucible. You know, when I first got this gun, I just kind of wrote it off as like a gimmick weapon, like, ooh, it's got 4 barrels, how cool is that? Get in the vault, buddy, catch you never. I'm seeing now that was a mistake, and hopefully I can convey why in this weapon review. If at any point in this review you find it helpful or useful in any way, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. It helps a great deal, but as always, do this at your own discretion. As far as obtaining Cerberus, and the catalyst for that matter, there is no lengthy exotic quest you need to go through. This is simply just an RNG drop. You can get it pretty much anywhere. So that means we get to dive straight into the stats and damage numbers. So let's get into it. Alright, the CERBERUS+1 is a kinetic, exotic auto rifle shooting at 360 rounds per minute with 31 rounds in the magazine. And just glancing at the stats, this gun looks absolutely awful. And yeah, it does kick and handling's not great, but try not to read too far into these stats because this gun behaves pretty strangely. The intrinsic trait for Cerberus is 4-headed dog, shoots erratic bullets from all gun barrels at the same time. 2 quick points to make here, each trigger pull only costs you 1 round, not 4, and the bullet spread is not as erratic as you might think. I'll show you that coming up. The exotic perk is Spread Shot Package. Aiming this weapon reduces the spread of the projectiles. The Masterwork Catalyst gives you the ability to hold reload and swap to a tighter close range spread. And by close range, Bungie means close range. Okay, into the damage numbers, and these about turn my brain into mush. We have to look at 2 sets of damages. First, we'll start off with the base fire mode. Cerberus is going to do somewhere between 23 to 30 points of damage on a crit, and somewhere between 16 and 19 points of damage for a body shot landed. Okay, here's the best I can figure with the damage discrepancies. The center bullet in the pattern is the only one that can crit, and it does less crit damage the closer you are to the target. So your precision time to kill is coming in around 0.67 seconds, requiring you to land 5 full shot patterns, where 1 shot from each pattern lands as a critical. Your body shot time to kill is going to come in at around 0.8 seconds, requiring you to land 6 full shot patterns. Now, full disclaimer here, I am not putting a money back guarantee on these numbers, but they should be close enough for all intensive purposes. But math is really hard for a dumb ironworker, trust me. Now, if your brain cells weren't already stimulated enough, let's take a look at the damage numbers when you proc the perk with the Masterwork Catalyst. Now, when you proc this perk, your damage is going to go up quite significantly in its effective range, but your rate of fire is going to go down. And giving it my best guess, I'm going to say proccing the catalyst brings your fire rate down to 180 RPMs, basically cutting it in half. The funky damage numbers continue here, with Cerberus doing 28 on a crit and 23 to the body, but for some reason the crit damage sometimes gets smushed all into one number rather than popping up individually. If anyone has absolutely any clue as to why it does this or what is going on here, please let me know. Now, falling back on my very solid math skills once again, if you can land full spreads on 2 consecutive trigger pulls, which each spread landing 2 crits in 2 bodies, you should be able to down any Guardian within this catalyst's effective range in 0.5 seconds. I hope that makes sense. If anyone would like to do some follow-up damage testing here and let me know what they found, I would love to compare notes. Okay, now that my brain feels like it's been put through a meat grinder and smoke is coming out of my ears, let's get the Cerberus into the Crucible and see what this monstrosity excels at. Okay, first thing I'm sure you've probably already taken note of is the potential raw damage that Cerberus can dish out. As far as auto rifles are concerned, there are only 2 guns that can straight up out damage it. Those 2 guns would be Suros and Sweet Business, but both of them need to be humming at their max fire rate to do so. Cerberus gives you the ability to hit these lightning quick TTK values right out of the gate. And while the range on the Cerberus isn't great, it's surprisingly serviceable. Now take a look at the shot pattern on Cerberus real quick. That center bullet seems to land right with the crosshairs pretty consistently, and I'm pretty sure this is where your 30 points of crit damage comes from. And the other 3 bullets in the pattern rotate around the center in a triangle pattern. So if you can land that crit shot and get one of those other bullets in the pattern to sneak in, I mean that's a pretty decent chunk of damage there. But where Cerberus really shines is just inside of mid-range. That's where you're going to see these outer pellets of the spread kind of start landing more consistently. That makes this a great offensive weapon if you want to get hyper aggressive and just shove that 0.67 second time to kill right down the enemy's throats. But it's also a great defensive weapon, and it's probably the best primary weapon in the game for stuffing shotgun rushers or for downing reckless shoulder charging titans. If you're laying on the trigger and backpedaling for just a few steps, it is nearly impossible for enemy guardians to close the gap on you before Cerberus chews them up. Did you catch that? Chews them up because it's a dog pun and dogs chew them because Cerberus... I'm gonna stop doing that, I promise. But seriously, there were times when I was testing this gun that I felt like an absolute god. When I was on a roll and landing my shots consistently, I felt unstoppable. But for the tremendous upside that Cerberus possesses, it is also being held back in a couple areas. Let's take a look at those now. Okay, first con is the range, and I know I just said the range was surprisingly good, but that is simply because I expected it to be much worse. Cerberus is not going to hang with other auto rifles, pulse rifles, or scout rifles anywhere from mid-range out. The second con is going to be the weapon's consistency. I took this thing into the menagerie to do some range testing, and I could not for the life of me figure out what the heck was going on here. Take a look on screen and see if you can figure it out. I mean, I established 633 to be full crit damage, and I'm doing that all the way out at 51 meters, but I move in tighter, the crit damage goes down, but the pellet spread damage goes up. It's just weird. It doesn't make sense why it would do this, but, I mean, you can see on screen that's what's happening. It's mind-boggling. You know, just really strange. And the last con that I want to touch on in this video is the fact that I am not a big fan of the Catalyst alternate fire mode. I mean, yes, you can drop Guardians super quick, but the range on this thing is like 5 to 6 meters before you're starting to see damage fall off. And that damage fall off is hard and fast. And I mean, I do like how your Guardian gives the side of a gun a little smack and that green light comes on. And sure, you can really take the opposing Guardians off guard by how quick you can down them with this thing. But you are well within lethal range of pretty much any shotgun in the game. So I mean, if you're going to dive on the enemy team with this perk activated, you better be 100% accurate or things are probably not going to end well for you. I mean, this is just personal preference and this is what I would recommend for a lower skill or casual player. Just stick with the base fire mode of this gun. So the verdict, even with all the cons and drawbacks that the Cerberus carries with it, I would definitely recommend trying this thing out in the Crucible if you haven't done so already. I mean, in its effective range, it just feels so powerful. I mean, I don't think I would recommend taking Cerberus into high-level comp or trials just due to the inconsistencies, but for your general Crucible game modes like Clash or Control, this gun is so much fun and overall performs much better than I ever would have guessed. So be sure to drop me your thoughts and opinions on the Cerberus in the comments section down below. I would love to hear your take on this exotic, and your feedback is always appreciated. Also, if you've made it to this point in the video and you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a like. Also, you could subscribe to the Ironworker Gaming channel to see more reviews, guides, and discussions, all done by yours truly. If you'd like to catch me live, look for Ironworker814 on Twitch. Head over there, drop me a follow, and you will get notified whenever I pop on. But even if none of these things interest you, I still want to sincerely thank you for your viewership. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.